advancing innovation across Canada through partnerships and collaboration. He has been recognized with several international and local awards for IT leadership, IT application development for the real estate industry, smart buildings, and innovation. Some notable awards are the Top 10 Best-in-Class CIOs in North America by Computer World, CPIA Gold Award of Excellence for application development in the real estate industry, Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal for promoting Canadian innovation, and the Mid-Career Award from the University of Toronto for industry and social contribution in an engineering career. As you can see, we sort of threw together this panel of speakers, right? Very not aspiring very speakers. I'm thrilled to introduce Ted Malucci from Tridel. Thank you, Ted. That was a cheap attempt at sarcasm. Congratulations on your successes.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to make one simple point, or I'm going to try to bring this down to one action item. And that's kind of demonstrated on this first slide here. I was at a conference not too long ago, and I was with an official from the US government. We were going to a dinner, and this was an environmental conference, and we were just talking about all the challenges in the world, the problems with energy, climate change, all the issues and everything that we face in the world, and he made a statement which stuck with me. He goes, it's as if we've trashed the hotel room and we expect the next generation to pay for it. We've borrowed from the future generation from an energy perspective, from a financial perspective, from all these different ways, we've effectively trashed the hotel room. Now, as much as that's a negative statement and a downer, the positive side to all that is everything you've seen so far is you've seen all these amazing technologies that solve those problems. We actually have everything we need to solve the issues. So what's the point of what I'm going to say today is we know where the future is going. There's enough there to point to it, but we're missing a very simple thing. We continue to build buildings and communities, but I'm going to speak specifically to buildings, that don't have the infrastructure to support what we know we need. And my pitch today is going to be, let's make sure we don't build another building without a network in it, at the simplest level. So let's start with, what is a network? And I work for the Delzato brothers, who the eldest is 83 years old. So how do you explain what a network is to an 83-year-old? So at the fundamental level, what is a network? And what is this that we're talking about? And the reason I do this is it's easy for us to get clouded by all these amazing technologies and smart this and smart that. It actually comes down to this. And this is the starting point, the most simple thing. And let's put it in perspective. Do you have a nervous system that controls your eyes? Do you have a separate nervous system that controls your hearing? Do you have another nervous system in your body that controls your muscles? You get where I'm going. No, you don't. You have one nervous system. One nervous system connects everything. That's the simple principle of where we're going with this. You have one system connecting everything. So in the human body, your hand touches something hot, it tells the muscle actuators to pull your hand away. Well, you have a building now that senses the sun has hit the side of the building. It can change the way the building's working, drop blinds, it can do things. But the fundamental concept of this is a network, connecting everything, sensors, actuators, bringing everything down to a common level that it all can communicate and work together. And we don't even know all of what's possible with this network. This network is what we call a platform. And Rick speaks to this quite often. It is a platform. It enables the future. We don't even know everything that's going to happen, but once these networks are there, you're going to see amazing things happen. And the best example is a smartphone. We all struggle with innovation. How do we create more innovation in Canada? How do we get innovation to happen? Well, you take your smartphone, and he said 2,500 apps a day. There's billions of apps. That's innovation. Well, why did it happen? Did someone tell somebody to go and start innovating and writing apps? No, they created a platform. They created the environment for the innovation to happen. That's what this is about. Creating the networks, putting this fundamental infrastructure into our cities and buildings is the platform for the innovation to happen. It's what we need for the future. So what does it look like in terms of of a building? So in the past, an energy system, access control, camera, everything had its own wiring system. You can see just reading up and down the sides, the communications in the suite. The telephone system had its own network. TV had its own network. Internet had its own network. Suite access control had its own network. So basically, you can see we had this redundancy. And thinking back to the analogy at the beginning of the human body, we don't need 5 wires. We can use 1 wire, and it can connect everything together. And then when we do that, we have this ability to create interoperability, and we create this platform for innovation. So why a network? And this is the simple slide of why do you need a network in a building. So number one, which is the first point, multiple things can run on top of the same wire. So the cost of the building goes down. And I'm going to show you a slide that clearly demonstrates that. Because the challenge that we face in our companies is when I say to the Delzato brothers or the leadership at Tridel and say this will cost less money, no one's proved it out, and everybody will fight against you. And I'm going to show you pictures that prove it. But the truth of it is, you can run multiple things on the same wire. It will lower the construction costs. The second is it's the proper infrastructure to distribute internet. So when you get internet at your home and it's delivered over a Bell phone line or it's delivered over a cable, that's not the fastest way. They're playing tricks with that to be able to get you internet. It was not designed for internet the way that a proper network is. Fiber is the way of the future. Fiber is what's going to feed your buildings. Putting proper networks is how you get maximum bandwidth across your building and across your cities. And then the last point is scalability. And I don't know how many people I'm going to be, have heard the term IP, Internet Protocol. Internet Protocol is just language. And what it's saying is that the devices in buildings are starting to all speak the same language called Internet Protocol. A camera, a thermostat, a phone, you've heard of voice over IP. All it's saying is that the common structure, it's like your, again, nervous system of your body communicating with signals, pulses of electricity, internet protocol, the language, they can all talk on the same wire. So why does it lower construction costs? So people who aren't really used to construction maybe don't get this. So this is a 700-suite building, and this is the finished telecommunications coming into this building. Somebody's chuckling. Can anybody see what's wrong with this picture? 7 4-inch conduits. That conduit goes all the way through the garage, out to the street line. Each conduit costs $14 a foot, and that's only the start. That replicated infrastructure goes all the way up the building. So I call this an infrastructure fail. This is a lost opportunity. We designed a building to the same standard that we did it before. We didn't take advantage of the fact that this new technology reduces the amount of conduit. This is a clear indication that it is cheaper. And I showed this to our executive, and I said, so many of you fought this, but this is what happened, and we don't want this to happen again. And here's the second fail. I don't know which way this works. So this is about a 10 square foot room, more or less, maybe a little bit bigger. That's all that's in it. This is downtown Toronto. That real estate is over $600 a foot. That's a $6,000 failure, right? A picture speaks 1,000 words, right? So the people who are resisting and saying, I don't believe it's going to be cheaper, you show those 2 pictures and you can see it is in fact cheaper. Now, what are the business opportunities? So much of this is about business case, even though I'm not a believer that you do everything only because of the business case. But once you put a network into a building, what are the opportunities? And the first is this: inexpensive, fast internet services. So if we take a condominium and we assume everybody in the condominium is going to get internet access, and we have a network in the building, we can buy a gigabit fiber optic feed. We can give everybody in the building internet at $20 a month with 100 megabit bisymmetrical speeds. The internet makes a lot of sense, and this same model works very well in commercial buildings where you would have multiple tenants in the same area. Instead of each of them subscribing individually and paying for the access, if they leverage a central network, you can deliver the internet far cheaper, far faster than you can in any other way. And this is an interesting one. This is a project we did in collaboration with Cisco, the e-concierge. So this building is 560 Front Street. This is Vanessa. She's Canada's first electronic concierge. So this building was equipped with IP technologies. Vanessa is sitting in Mississauga. The building's at 560 Front. She can fully control that building. She can see every camera, open every door. She can even receive packages. Full control of the building from a remote location. Because of that, she can manage multiple buildings. They cut the operating cost of this building in half. So some people say, oh, but I want a physical person there. And the truth is, what we've found at Tridel is the physical person isn't always the best thing. When you have a $10 an hour security guard and something goes wrong, they run away. They don't stand there. They're not risking their lives. It's true. Putting intelligence to cameras and capturing is really the way that you can create security. So this was a really good thing. And now this has been making its way forward. We have a community in Scarborough right now getting the same technology. We're using this also in places where we have campus environments. So we have a front desk and we have multiple entrances. We're using the same technology to control the whole building from a central spot. We're lowering the operating cost of the building. And we had heard some talk about cellular today. What this is telling us is exactly what was said before, that cellular demand is going up, spectrum is limited. The only way to match the amount of demand we're getting over mobile devices is to create more towers. What we uncovered is if we're bringing a fiber access into a building, why not leverage that as a cell tower? Why not use that access that's there? A large cost of cellular is this tower. So you set your tower sitting up here. That tower is not in isolation. Someone's putting fiber to that tower to be able to backhaul the signal. So why not change the strategy, leverage the network that exists within these buildings, and distribute cellular? Solve both problems. Give people in the building better cellular coverage, which they don't have today. The technologies are all there, and this is something that's easy to do. And one of the cell companies saw this and then had that aha moment. Hey, wait a minute, they're right. But the reason they didn't see it was two different divisions within the same company. They didn't talk. But this is a big opportunity. And this is one that I've really become passionate about lately, which is healthcare. So I spend quite a bit of time at the University of Toronto. I mentor students, work with some of the professors. I find that it just keeps you a little bit fresh. When you get old, you start to, I always talk about mentoring students. The problem when you get old is you always say, not that I'm that old, but I guess I'm getting there, that you see obstacles and you don't want to do it. I'm not going to bother doing that because that's going to be too hard. We see that. Students don't see that. I don't care how high that mountain is. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it. And there's that energy and that freshness that I think it's good to keep yourself exposed to not give up and just to keep trying. So healthcare, and this has been spoken of too, and this is also part of this, here are the problems that exist in the world. The population is aging. We don't have enough people to look after all the people that are aging. What are we going to do? The technology, and that's where the universities are spending their time right now. They're researching this problem. How do we use technology to augment healthcare so that we can deal with the demand and deal with the change that we know is coming? So Goldie is a professor, and their smart home program, and they're doing smart robots. And it's interesting because I brought a CTO from Samsung over to see them. And here's, actually, let me go back then. And he was looking at this, and Samsung was saying, well, how do we collaborate with the universities, and how do we create more products? We brought them over, and we showed them these robots. And he thought the robots are cool, maybe a little bit too far out. But where he did start to see a tremendous value is, how can I turn a smart home platform into a virtual nurse? So how can I use everyday technologies connected to the smart home platform so people can age in the home and be monitored? But the robot stuff was still pretty neat. And then here you see things, smart floors that can detect someone's fallen and they're not moving. The University of Toronto has also developed a technology of a smart camera that can see you've fallen down, you're not moving, it starts calling to you. And if you don't respond, it'll start texting and phoning and calling for assistance. And then this is orange or tangerine. I think they called it tangerine because it was the same name as what ING switched to. There's a real robot that's being in trials right now. And he walks around, or he or it, or she, walks around, goes around a senior's facility, maps it, starts to know where all the hallways are, And every time it sees a person, it captures their face. Then in the background, someone loads in who that person is, so it starts to know who's there. And then this robot does little things like it can play bingo with people and watch them and play bingo and interact. But more than that, it's just a rolling sensor. So the idea here is a rolling sensor that's watching the people, that you can connect things to it. It can see something's wrong. It can report. Okay, a little bit out there, but truthfully, I don't think there's anyone in this room who doesn't believe that this is actually going to happen on large scale. And then this is Brian, a meal assistance robot. And what's amazing to watch with the students there, I think they built this robot for $1,500. And it's got a Wii sensor, a Wii in it, and a Microsoft Kinect. And it sits for the person and coaches them through eating. Okay, a little bit out there, but it's working. They're eating more. You know, the seniors are finding that this is kind of amusing to be toying with this robot. But you get further, that this is where the research is, augmented sensor networks. And every time you talk about the high-tech toilet, people chuckle, but it's a reality. They have a toilet. You go to the washroom, it takes your vitals. They have smart fabrics. You sit on the couch, it takes your vitals. The US military has smart underwear that's keeping track of the vitals of the soldiers. Like, this stuff is not even difficult. And the one thing the CTO at Samsung said is sensors cost nothing. They're cheap. And this is where you combine sensors with the researchers who put analytics against it, and they can start to do amazing things. Like, they're just using a motion detector in the home. They can sense the change in pattern of somebody to detect the early onset of Alzheimer's. And we had a whole bunch of these things were spoken of earlier. Have you opened the fridge? Have you taken your pills? Are you moving? What are you doing? You can see why this is incredible. And then that last one, the fall detection camera. Not working here. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this because there's two layers to this stuff. And the first, and this is going to be the part that I advocate today, is we need the network. Without a network, you can't connect anything. But there's another component, and something that Tridel is working with right now. It's called Bazinga. So what Bazinga is a community portal. So what this is there's actually two elements that got to play together for us to solve the big problems that we have. The first is you need a network that can connect devices, control things. The second is, and the mayor spoke to it, was a portal. You need to be able to present information to people to drive behavior. So a big part of sustainability is not just about shutting things off and doing that. It is about engaging people in behavior that's going to create a greater level of sustainability. Think about security. If everybody in the community can see the cameras, and everybody in the community can start to engage in dialogue around the security of their community, it will be a more secure community. So this is in pilot at two of our buildings, and you can see it's a portal where they log in. It's got a loop that looks like a Facebook feed. So the residents are now able to communicate with each other around what's going on in their community. They can book amenities like I need the party room. They can communicate with their concierge. And you're starting to see this flourishing of activity and this level of engagement of the community. So really what this is about is everything about where I live and the people around me are brought together in a web interface. And then the future is I can surface energy usage, I can surface healthcare, I can surface everything through this platform of where I live. And here's an example of something Zero Footprint did where they created gamification around energy. How am I doing compared to my neighbor? So those little meters are saying red is I'm doing worse than my neighbors. And you get the idea, green and yellow, green being I'm the leader. So you can start to see how people play with each other to try to say, hey, let me see how low I can get my energy usage. They had the same concept with the Prius. Okay, here we go. And then the other part of this is what we're working with in this community portal is the digital marketplace. Not to create, a cheap way to advertise, but how do we now bring the services that people want to the platform? So logical things. Is an example at Tridel. We know what appliances are in your unit. We've connected with a warranty company that something goes wrong, automatically it gets fixed. We just make your life easier. Like we said, technology to become invisible. You're coming home. Here's a deal on pizza. We know it's dinner time. So what are the things? And the reason we do it is one, to make people's lives better, but also to create the monetization mechanism to allow the platform to fund itself. I actually envision a platform like this powering a whole city, because that's where it'll go, that this will become the center point for e-health, for government services, interacting with your neighbors, energy. This type of community-based platform becomes the foundation for all kinds of things that are going to happen in the future. So going back to where we started, the network is a platform. And hopefully you've seen what I've presented so far. It's a platform and you have opportunities. You have opportunities in sustainability because we can control energy, we can interact with people. We have opportunities for enhanced security. People can see cameras, they can interact with each other. We have opportunities in healthcare where you can see the research is in sensor networks. We need this stuff. And opportunities in, meaning it's only the start. This is like the smartphone. This is the platform. This is going to open the whole world to a massive amount of innovation for Canada. Now, this is funny because yesterday I heard Rick speak, and he said no more dumb buildings, and then he retracted his comment because he thought it was a little bit harsh, and I didn't think it was too harsh. So, the last point, which is the first point, we can reasonably predict what's coming. After seeing what I've shown you, what everyone else has shown you,